TruthSeekah and/or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and/or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah Podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark's at it!
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark's at it stuff!
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the TruthSeekah Podcast. Listen, it's finna get real. We're about to go deep, guys. I've never done this before. I got a friend of mine who's joining me today, and he's gonna channel. And we're gonna be able to ask questions. So make sure that you post the questions in the chat for those of you listening live. And nothing's off the table. We're gonna explore a little bit. We're gonna try to get to the bottom of some stuff. He has some really beautiful things that he brings to the table. I've had him on the podcast before. Our first talk was amazing. We kind of set up what channeling was and getting into the trance state and that kind of thing. And so that was several months ago, probably a year ago now. And but now we're actually gonna go in and we're gonna commune. And so I'm excited. It's gonna be good. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody supporting my work via Patreon. You guys know that this is a listener-supported, listener-funded show. Doesn't exist without your help. Like, we wouldn't be doing this right now if you guys weren't co-creating with me and showing up. So again, I want to say a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart. Listener-supported, listener-funded. You guys are enablers. That's what you are. Co-creators with me. Everybody supporting at Patreon. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah. For those of you who want to check that out, there's a bunch of really cool stuff. Thursday nights, the last Thursday of the month, we do the School of the Mystics. That's going to be our session where we tap in and we go into trance and we do breath work and we have dialogue and conversation and questions and all that kind of stuff. So for those of you who are looking for a community, you get access to that. And that is tonight for those of you who are listening live. If not, it'll be the last Thursday of every month. And we do breath work on Sunday mornings, bunch of really cool stuff. All of my music, everything's there. Also, I got to plug this retreat that we got coming up November the 20th with myself in Illuminati, Congo. A good friend of mine, a good brother of mine. Speaking of, I just put out a new album called White Magic. And there's a track on that album with myself, Richie ZXY, and Illuminati Congo. And the name of that song is actually called Channels. And the song is about channeling information, whether you do it intuitively, passively. Your channels, when you turn the television and something resonates with you and then you repeat it, just the different complexities of it. So Illuminati Congo's on that song, but he will be in Mobile, Alabama for the Reset, Refresh, and Renew retreat. I'm super excited. I've been working with him for years. I've been booking him to do online seminars and webinars with us and online retreats where he just leads breath work and we go into trance together. I fell in love with breath work because of him back in, probably 2014 or so. I had him come in via Skype and lead yoga and Kundalini yoga. And I fell in love with it. And so I've been working with him ever since on music and hiring him to be a part of these retreats too. So we're being able to meet in person for the first time. If you want info, you want to get in on that, there's only a couple tickets left. Go to TruthSeekah.com. It's in Mobile, Alabama. And like I said, seating's limited. But with that being said, make sure you check out everything. Patron, TruthSeekah.com, all the cool stuff we got going on. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into this. My friend, David Strickel. Brother, welcome back to the TruthSeekah Podcast, man. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, we're going to get it in, man. This is something that you do quite regularly on streams and live streams and let people come in and ask questions and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I do it all the time. I love doing it.
Awesome. So like I said, we did an exhaustive interview. I would say it's a year ago where we went into depths about the art of channeling and what is it, what it isn't, and how to explore and all that kind of stuff. We don't have to go too deep today, but just as a quick overview, just let people know what's about to happen.
So I tap into source consciousness. Really all channeling is that. Certainly there's streams that we can sort of dial into, but I dial into the core of source energy, and we all have access to it, but I am able to receive information and speak it. And it's something that I've been able to do my whole life. The receiving of the information, the speaking, though, that didn't happen until my late 40s. I really had to sort of teach myself to be able to do it. And then once I started the Stream of David podcast, that was the very first time on my podcast when I actually shared it with anyone publicly. And it was kind of a crazy thing to do as a first step, but that's how I wanted to start connecting with people and sharing it. And from there, it's really taken off. And the message has continued to expand. And we certainly have a way of channeling now that makes it a lot easier to communicate. Like I was saying before we went on live, the only limitation is my intellect and vocabulary. I have to know what is being asked and understand what's being asked. And I also have to understand what is being shown to me and figure out how to speak it. But that tends to happen pretty smoothly.
Yeah. I always have just a bunch of questions, just trying to get clear on stuff, getting clear on it because, we tap into those realms too. And people are trying to make sense of energy and inspiration and all of those words and stuff. So are you present? Do you step aside?
I step aside. What I do is I do a quick meditation. I invite everybody that is interacting, even if it's, on a recorded podcast or something in the future, take a moment and just do a little bit of breath work and set a positive intention to have the stream come through and just deliver exactly what we're seeking.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
It takes just a moment to do that. So if you want to do that now, I can go right into that, and then you can just start asking questions as soon as they're
okay.
Here.
Let me ask you this, just really quick before we get started. Is music appropriate?
It can, yeah.
Meditation.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything that throws them off.
Okay.
So there's, like I said, there's nothing that's off limits. So whatever you want the experience to be, I think they'll roll with it.
Okay, let me just grab some royalty-free meditation music right quick and let people know where they can go to your website and check out more about your work and all that good stuff.
Sure. We're the Stream of David everywhere. So the streamofdavid.com, the Stream of David across just about all social media platforms. We have the podcast also.
Awesome. And I will be a guest on there pretty soon.
You will. I don't have the date in front of me, but you absolutely will real soon.
Great. So let's see here. Almost got us something. Just got to make sure it's royalty free because we'll be done got into it and got kicked off or something. But I got us some music. Let's see here. I don't want it to be too loud. And chat, let me know if the music is too loud or if it's just right. And actually, I like this tone. It's got a good sound to it. All right, so David, go ahead and lead us, man. You said breathwork, meditation, and just kind of open up.
Yeah, just a little bit of deep, a couple of deep breaths. I like that deep count of 8, holding it for 8, and then the slow release of 8. We're here. I understand that you may have some questions for us.
We do have a couple questions here from the chat already, and everybody just go ahead and post your questions. Can you explain the difference between channeling, prayer, and meditation, or are they all interlinked?
The simple response to that would be that they are essentially one and the same. When you are meditating, you are clearing your mind. You are calming your ego a bit. You are allowing your natural connection to our energy. You realized it is always there. When you pray, you are creating a belief within yourself. So prayer is essentially a meditation. You are connecting with your natural source connection, regardless of how you label it. And in your belief in that connection, you are offering something up, or perhaps you are requesting something in belief. You are manifesting your beliefs in that state. So the three are essentially one and the same. You all have a connection to this. You all have your own version of it. And the best way to realize it is to quiet your mind a bit. The breath always helps. And if you are still wondering if you're there and you don't necessarily feel any different, or you're allowing yourselves to get frustrated in the attempt to quiet your mind, and you're finding that something that is perhaps difficult for you to do, especially if you're new to meditation, move toward appreciation of self, appreciation of all that you are, appreciation of external things, appreciation of your breath. That appreciation lifts your vibration, and in lifting your vibration, your natural source connection is once again realized.
What is vibration?
Vibration is and of course these are all human created terms that we come and communicate through David with all of you in regard to. Vibration is energy, and there is an ebb and flow of energy universally, and you're all aware of it. So when you speak of a vibe or a vibration, it's the energy feeling. It is that intangible portion of your reality. It is the energetic realm. And certainly there is a flow that you can identify as a higher vibration, a more positive, powerful, loving vibration, and something that is less than that. You often describe it as high vibration, low vibration. The less than that, however, is a detuned connection to your natural source connection. And that is where you are moving away from your natural source consciousness connection and more into your humanity, your ego consciousness. And that is not a bad thing. There is certainly a reason behind that. There is a purpose behind that. But that ebb and flow is actually what is creating your reality. Because when you separate yourselves from the source vibration and you are operating more in what you may refer to as 3D, and you don't feel as good. You are operating in a lower vibrational frequency, if you will. And in doing so, you are manifesting conditions that are different than those that you manifest when you are operating in high vibration. And we're not guiding you to some belief system where you have to be in high vibration all the time. We are guiding you to ponder the idea of the value that is held for you in your flow of vibration, which is all vibration.
What's going on with the current state of humanity and the spiritual evolution of our planet?
what is going on in your earthly environment for humanity is you are coming together like never before, and you're communicating in ways that humanity has never communicated in before. And in this global realization of technology that allows you to communicate across mediums such as this, you are becoming wiser. And in becoming wiser, you are questioning more. And in your collective questioning, you are seeing your institutions of control beginning to crumble a bit. Your organized religions, your governments, all of the things that served a purpose for a while, but were absolutely contrasting in nature, meaning they served a purpose. They served as a vehicle for humanity to expand its intelligence, if you will. But the negative of that is that you are all freedom-seeking beings. And your elements of control encumbered you and held you away from that freedom that you all naturally seek, because that is your eternal state of being. So in that contrasting experience, you have moved through, as a collective consciousness, a period where that served a purpose for a while, and now you are coming to understand that you no longer need those things to be what they once were. We are not necessarily guiding you to completely step away from anything. But understand that those encumbrances, the idea of rules and borders and dogma and all of those things that you are all coming to question, you are creating the splintering of them. And in this sort of fracturing across humanity that is taking place, all of that questioning to as an awakening experience across humanity. But that awakening has a reaction. And that reaction is all of the things that you see spinning out across humanity. You see more polarization in some. This is why you are seeing things becoming more political, and you are seeing more individuals move into a more polarized mode of thinking in terms of one side is right completely and the other side is wrong completely. What all of that is, again, we speak of a higher vibrational, more source connected, loving and appreciating all that is vibration, and you are seeing the exact opposite of that, a lack of source connection, doubling down on the idea of 3D humanity, the what is physical is all that is, that belief system, and believing that these external institutions of control have complete authority over your lives. So you're seeing these two camps grow even wider in their separation. But what inevitably will happen, because vibrational flow guarantees that you are all going to move up and down vibrationally, and you're going to go down and you're going to create obstacles for yourselves, and those obstacles can serve as inspiration for new creation. And as soon as you appreciate the obstacle, your vibration is lifted, and the solution to whatever that obstacle is arrives magically, because well-being is your natural state of being. Abundance is your natural state. So what you will see is more and more that are moving through that low vibrational mode of thinking, of being highly polarized. Eventually that will give way. In the beginning, simply because those that are holding themselves in that state of being are suffering in it. And their suffering and their judgment of the experience is all suffering as a derivative of that. But in their suffering of it, they will tire of it, and they will release the need to be so polarized and release the need to be so stuck in their ego consciousness, the need to be right about everything, the need to battle and argue and fight about everything. They tire of that, they let go, and the vibration naturally lifts. They find a different path, they find a better way. So it's completely possible for humanity to adopt a completely new operating system, one that is not rooted in fear and judgment. It is not necessarily going to deliver you to some utopian existence, because your obstacles inspire all new creation, but your obstacles can be dramatically different than what you are facing. And you are facing more and more and more of them simply because of this turn of humanity where that is causing the splintering, and where more and more of you are indeed awakening.
Is this what some would refer to the time that we're going through right now? Is this referred to as the end of the world, as many would fear?
You are nowhere near the end of your environment. And in fact, when you release that fear and find things to appreciate, you will notice momentum moving in that direction. Because the idea of the end of the world has been around since humanity stepped out of the environment that humanity emerged from before humanity became essentially a mutation of the earth environment, because your consciousness moved beyond that of the other beings on your planet. Then you began to think more critically. And in the critical thinking process, the idea of what created us, why are we here, what is beyond physical, and when is this going to end, all of that emerged. And it's been around in linear time for a very long time. That consciousness still exists, as all consciousness does. Consciousness is eternal. But in your linear physical journey as humanity, you are nowhere near the end. In fact, we will tell you that the scenario where the earth environment is going to end would be more about reaching a state of utopia than where you are headed right now. Because in that utopian state of perfection, if that were to be achieved, the usefulness, the need for the environment would cease to be.
Is there a way that religion makes it over this bump, that religion carries over into this shift? And if they want to do that, what must they do to make it over that bump?
The source rooted, all loving, not judging, not fearing, that vibration, however you label that, we make it sound very simplistic because it is. That vibration, the vibration of pure love, void of fear and judgment, that is the core of source energy. That is where we are, and you are all part of this. So that alignment with the idea of the source of all creation being a loving entity, but void of fear and judgment. The fear and judgment aspect of religion is indeed a human creation. So the weaving in of fear and judgment into a message, the reason this works, great power in that. That power essentially got you all under control. And in that control, you came together, you created technologies, you created communities, you built nations, you created all of these things. And religion was very much woven into that, very often. But for religion to move through the period that you're in, the religions of your world are going to need to evolve beyond that fear-based need for control and that fear-rooted need for commerce. Preference in your environment. You came here to discern preference, but when you weave fear into your preference, it becomes judgment. So the releasing of those things would allow what you would consider perhaps the positive aspects of religion, the community, the belief in something more than physical, the helping one another, the caring for one another. All of those aspects can certainly move forward without the limiting fear-based, rule-laced, lording over, and even the concept of worship. We have said from the very beginning of David's sharing of our message, we are source, you are all of source. There's no need for any worship in any of this. You can all hold reverence for any aspect of your being, but the idea of obedient worship, again, think in terms of the source of all creation. Why in the world would the source of all creation require that or request it? There is none of that. These are human created ideas that have been laced into a message that was absolutely originated in source.
Are ETs going to show up physically anytime soon and reveal themselves, or are they under what some would call a contract not to let their hand be seen working with humanity?
The idea of contracts is we would describe that as a variation of vibration. And the earth environment is dialed in as its own vibration, if you will. It's its own unique experience. And as eternal strands of source consciousness, which you all are, all creation is, you are vibrationally aligning with the earth environment for the earthly experience. Understand that the earth environment is one of infinite environments. So when you speak of ETs or beings from other planets, their presence is vibrationally already present. That is flowing through us, that is flowing to all of you in different ways. And there are times that you all gain glimpses of the energetic realm in your 3D human state. And notice that your very young children have relationships with the energetic realm that are taught out of them as they move through humanity, as they move through their human experience. You are all taught to ignore your imaginary friends. Who do you think your imaginary friends are? That is the energetic realm interacting with you. The energetic realm is not something that is out there, you're in it. So all of the collective consciousness of all that is, which is infinite, and as human beings, it is difficult in your linear environment to wrap your minds around what infinity really is. But infinity is endless, no beginning, no end, not quantified the way that you quantify things in your earthly environment. So these other beings that you communicate with are all strands of consciousness that comprise that which you call source. And you have access to them. You can communicate with them. But understand that the physical visitation is not even necessary. You are in a physical environment, so you place a lot of value typically on the idea of physical visitation. That physical visitation is not necessary to commune, to share ideas and information and technology. And what you are seeing, we have spoken of this already in this brief interaction, but the advancement of technology, humanity's advancement in technology, notice how it's speeding up. You are actually speeding up your own evolution. And essentially what is going on is you are coming to discover and even create the intelligence, the technology that is your own creator. Notice how the things that you create, your computers and your robots and your augmented reality and your artificial intelligence and all of these things that you label as such, you are getting closer and closer and closer to things that you are creating that are very human-like, that are very much like your own created technology. Because what you consider nature is absolutely technology. And those technologies are shared across the universe. So your speeding up and tapping into new technologies is not just humanity acting on its own, but humanity opening up to allowing that energy flow from the energetic realm that does create that technology, that created it originally, continues to expand it.
Now, with that being said, humans creating life forms, if you will, or something that seems intelligent, were humans created by what we would call ETs, other beings? Some would say Anunnaki, and some would say Elohim and things like that. Is there any truth to those stories?
You have given them different names, and again, as human beings, labeling something with a name is how you communicate. So certainly the intelligence that is beyond what you consider your 3D intelligence, you are all part of that. And that is a co-creative intelligence, certainly. And so that intelligence created you, and you across humanity are now utilizing that intelligence, and you're catching up to it. And that is what you're seeing as this evolution of humanity. And we guide you to think of this as a very exciting time across humanity, not worrying so much about the ones that are operating in fear, because you do not need to operate in fear. The most important message that we can deliver to all of you in this interaction is that nothing that's happening in your earthly environment could possibly end that which you are. You are eternal strands of energetic consciousness, eternal. If your planet were to cease to be physically destroyed in this moment, your consciousness individually, as you receive yourselves individually, and you consider yourselves individual strands of consciousness, certainly, but you are not. You are part of a collective, and you are gaining awareness of that. Your individual strand and the collective would all simply morph on to something else. And though you exist in this consciousness eternally, it is your eternal state of being. We refer to it as your completed state. You express yourselves physically, eternally, into infinity, because this physical expression, and it is not all like humanity, it is not all like planet Earth, it is infinite, so that there are infinite versions of expression. But that physical expression in a polarized environment, the creation of desires to experience that physical environment experience, that the things that you all love so much physically, all of those things are your discerned preferences in your environment. But notice, every single one of you are manifesting various levels of your preferences while also manifesting obstacles. All of you, every single one of you, because your lower vibrational period places you in the path of these obstacles, and these obstacles exist to serve your expansion of consciousness. When you experience the obstacle and you allow your natural connection to our energy, your source connection, to be realized in appreciation of it, appreciation of the obstacle itself is the fastest path to this. You then possess the ability to evolve through and solve whatever obstacle you're experiencing, from the very smallest thing that is not going right in your day, and you step away for a moment and step back to it in a higher vibrational state, and suddenly it's solved. You all have this experience. Everything from that to something that you would consider the greatest magnitude operates that way. You manifest the obstacle, you allow the solution to the obstacle, and you expand in that co-creative experience of solving the obstacle, regardless of what it is. And certainly you can hearken back to times in your lives that you have moved through a difficult period, and you know that you've grown from having had that experience. That is why you come to physical in the first place. And that expansive experience for your strand of consciousness contributes to the expansion of the entire universe. That is how the universe expands energetically, becomes a more sophisticated version of itself into infinity. That is your purpose for humanity, but understand that humanity is not the only version, Earth is not the only environment, and there is nothing happening in your earthly environment that was ever intended to be forever. Environments have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Physical experiences have a beginning, a middle, and an end, always. But if anything ceases your earthly experience, whether it's collectively or individually, you simply morph on to another state of being, expanded in that experience, and void of the judgment that humanity tends to hold for that. The fear and judgment around the negative experiences, and the fear and judgment around your demise. Perhaps it's too soon, or perhaps it's too long, or the wrong way. But your demise is something that you all manifest in perfection. And in your completed state, you are able to view it that way. What we are guiding you all to as human beings, especially those of you that are doing work such as this, is to understand that you can shift your consciousness as physical beings to essentially eliminate fear and judgment from your experience. Not 100% necessarily, but you can certainly significantly detune it and live a more source-connected life experience, where the idea of your death, or even mass death and destruction on your planet, is something that you're not even concerned about, because you understand your eternal nature.
That was, I guess you kind of piggybacked into the next question about what happens when we die. So I think you kind of tied that in. Can you talk about negative energies or entities? Are people channeling negative energies or entities, whether they're from off-world or from another dimension, that are malicious and have malicious intent?
Understand that the malintent that exists in your environment is separation from source. It really is as simple as that. You have a powerful, creative, benevolent, all-loving, all-seeing, all-knowing energy that is of your world. Your world is of that. You are of that. That is what we are, and that is what you are all part of. When you separate yourselves from that, and sort of, it's sort of like you are tuned into a station, and it's playing crystal clear and beautifully, and you're enjoying it, and then suddenly something creates some interference, and you're tuning around and you can't find it, and you're becoming frustrated and you're not being able to find it, and all you're getting is static, and then all of a sudden you are so frustrated you just want to stop. That is essentially how source energy works. Source energy is all loving, all knowing, all seeing, pure positive, creative, expansive energy. But you're in a physical environment that is absolutely polarized. We have described to you the value in your temporary separation from this energy. Your temporary separation from this energy disconnects you from it somewhat. And certainly you can go down a vibrational spiral, if you will, into almost complete disconnection from it. And that is when you are down in deep despair or in such rage that you are in a harmful state. That very often is identified as some sort of dark energy that is being piped in from somewhere else. But understand that dark energy exists in humanity's consciousness as part of the source-separated experience. And in that source-separated experience, that is being created by the collective that is focusing upon that. And you can focus in desire or you can focus in fear. Very often, in your horror movies very often depict this, and they are not off base, that when one is perceiving something that is dark, they were already operating in a low vibrational state to begin with to allow something of that nature to be realized. But the fear of it and the focus upon it in fear fueled it. And very often that gets labeled as something that is being projected in or is asserted upon you. But it is always by invitation. And even if you've had experiences in the past where you felt like it was something that was asserted from an external force, we guide you to go back and focus on it a little differently and understand what you were doing that led to the gaining of momentum toward that experience. You actually have far more control over all of this than most of you have even yet realized. And understand that this is not about blame. This is not about blaming the victim or blaming the one who aligned with the energy. There is nothing wrong from our perspective in having these experiences. This is part of the earth environment. We view what you consider positive and negative very differently. And in fact, we see all of the negative energy in your world as your own creation that is there to inspire expansion. And in that inspiration of expansion, understand that we see you as eternal strands of consciousness. We do not see the one that is being mistreated or the one that is even having their human journey ended what you call prematurely the same way that you do. We understand very much that you all want to be happy and healthy and have long lives and treat each other well. We understand that. We are of that energy, but we view the eternal version of you. That's what we are seeing. This eternal strand of consciousness that is having a very temporary human experience and expanding in the experience regardless of how it's judged across humanity. And the reason that we're guiding you to think of these things differently and perhaps claim more ownership of them is because that is exactly how you will solve those things. The things that you consider evil and dark and unwanted, you possess the ability to solve that in your individual experiences. And more importantly, as you spread that message and understand that this message is very much in reverse of how humanity tends to operate. But notice how humanity's operating system is beginning to unravel. We are here delivering a new operating system, one that is very much aligned with the universal process of creation, one that is not rooted in fear and judgment. So when you remove fear and you remove judgment, and understand that every single experience that is experienced in the earth environment holds value, even if it's something that you don't wish to experience and you wish for no one else to ever experience. There is judgment laced in there that actually fuels more of the same energy. So that the new operating system would be remove the judgment and remove the fear and see the source or the God energy in all beings and all creation and all activities.
How does somebody shift consciousness to a higher state and move from that fear as well?
Understand that this is something, if you have traveled far down the path vibrationally in the operating system of humanity, and when we say the operating system of humanity, we are speaking of that which was created over time by humans for humans, that is rooted in fear and judgment. The path away from that is understanding that we speak of detuning, we speak of gradual shifts, we speak of doing your meditation and appreciation work, and even your prayer work if you do that, and moving into a more enlightened state of being by systematically removing fear and judgment. But understand that you are all moving through vibrational flow. So you are going to start something, and this is just like anything else that you want to make a new habit. You are not necessarily going to root yourself in that habit instantaneously. You are going to start a new habit. You're going to be really good at it for a few days. When the vibration is really high, then inevitably polarity is going to pull the vibration down on any topic because of your polarized environment. When that occurs, that's when you very often get pulled back into old habits of thought and behaviors, like a rubber band almost. And you can find yourselves getting very frustrated and being stuck in something, finding yourselves back in the same scenario again and again and again. But if you commit to being diligent and understand vibrational flow, that there are times when you are discovering a new set of teachings and your vibration is really high because they're resonating so highly, and you want to assign yourselves and you want to start doing a practice of systematically removing fear and judgment. And that works for a while until you see that thing that triggers you down. And then you can't help yourselves but to judge it or have fear become present once again. Understand that that is not failure in the process. That is the process. The detuning process is all about ebb and flow of energy, because you're all operating in an ebb and flow of energy. So systematically shifting your mindset and taking on a course of study that supports that. These are our teachings. There are other teachers out there that are offering something very similar. We tend to strip things down to very simple terms because the energetic realm is not nearly as complex as humanity makes it out to be. The energetic realm actually operates on the very simple premise that all creation occurs via attraction, yet all attraction is governed by polarity. When you understand those two things, you understand how everything happens in your world, that polarity is always going to impact your point of attraction. That's why you're not learning to just attract every single thing that you want and live some life where you instantaneously manifest everything that you've ever desired. Even your most celebrated and wealthy beings are not having that experience for a reason, because there's contrast on all topics. So you suddenly manifest $100 million, you're going to have $100 million worth of problems that are going to come along with that. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but that's the reality of your polarized environment. But you can get ahead of polarity by detuning fear and judgment.
There's a few questions here. Somebody on Facebook wants to know, who are you? The we that you're referring to, are we the same thing, or you something different? Who are we actually talking to right now?
You are speaking to the core of source energy, however you wish to describe that. Very often human beings discover this and believe that is something that is off limits to them. It is not. It is all of you are part of this. You all have your version of this flowing to you. We are not former human beings. We are not human at all. We have flowed through all of creation eternally. We are the spark of all creation. We are original spark of thought. But understand that this does not make David any sort of deity or anything of that nature. David is another human being, just like all of you, who had this very pronounced version of our consciousness flowing and was allowed to continue that flowing throughout his childhood and developed it into adulthood and eventually developed the ability to communicate it the way that you are experiencing now. We are not a we, nor a they, nor a he, nor a she. We are none of that. We are consciousness. You all have your version of this. And we will guide you to think about the times when you are either in deep meditation, or if you do some sort of breath work with what you might call going into a transcendental state, or quite simply when you are just relaxing in a state of joy, doing something that takes a little bit of your thought, that suddenly you have amazing thoughts and ideas and intuition flowing to you. That is what we are. We are that. That is your version of this. Something as simple as going on a long drive in the country, or taking a hot shower, or just being out in nature, sitting and doing a little bit of breath work and deep appreciation without even necessarily completely quieting your minds, and having this information that flows to you. That is your source connection. You all have it. That is what we are.
There's another question here. Who was Madame Helena Blavatsky to you?
These human names do not mean anything to us. These are your own human creation. So if you would like to describe this being, we could perhaps provide some clarity. But there is not this eternal book of names and references that we flip through that mean to us what they mean to you.
Maybe people who, on this side of eternity, challenge the status quo, to try to provoke conversation for the spiritual community, and that assist with the evolution of the planet, if you will, but they're not well received or well venerated sometimes.
The beings of your environment that are bold enough to share this information are very often misunderstood and very often challenged. Where we would guide all of you is to listen to the messages that are being offered, if that is your preference, and understand that there is no one-size-fits-all message. There is no one-size-fits-all belief system. You are not going to find something that is what you would call one truth that works for every single one of you. We guide you to ponder the messages that you're receiving, discern your own preference, and decide whether it is the thing for you or not. If what we are offering resonates, and our stripped down version of the energetic realm that is void of all of the human created nuances, if you will, if that resonates and works for you, that is a good path for you. If you like the human created nuances and entities and ideas that are very human-like, who are these people, who are these beings, what is all of this, then if that works for you and you expanding your consciousness, that is the path for you to take. We are not here preaching. We are not here trying to convince anyone of anything. David's sharing of this message is very much rooted in his very basic understanding of the energetic realm, how that operates in terms of your human life journey. Because we are here to share with all of you that the value that is out there, the only value in any type of channeled message, is how you can apply it in your 3D reality. Because when you are operating beyond your current human lifetime, your current human 3D reality, you do not need any of that, because you are so swept up in it, you are part of it. You are all knowing and all seeing in that state. But when you are in your physical vehicles, and your consciousness is essentially operating a physical vehicle, that is how you are experiencing the earth environment. And in your experience of the earth environment, you are taking it all in. You are a filtration system essentially for your environment. That is what your physical vehicle is for. It was intended, again, to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And there is no right or wrong way to operate that experience from the beginning all the way to the end. Whatever it is, however it looks, however it is judged across humanity, there's our promise to you that you're in your eternal state of being, you realize the expansion that was created in the having of that life experience. That is why there is no one true path. The only universal law that exists is what you would call the universal law of creation. That is very much rooted in attraction and polarity. And all of your teachings and all of your other ideas of universal law are all versions of that. Even astrology, humanity's creation of the astrological teachings are quite brilliant in understanding and attempting to harness and identify the flow of energy. But that is simply polarity. That is the ebb and flow of the energetic realm in your environment.
When someone says that their foundation is Christ, do they mean a person, or do they mean a greater light or a greater love? And you said about the names that we need to name things. Is it just their attempt to try to name this greater reality, this greater light?
The idea of an all-loving creator of all that is, we use the term source. That has been labeled many different ways, and it is very often humanized in your environment. The humanization of the energetic realm is understandable because you are human beings. So certainly having the idea and even interacting with a human-like version of the energetic realm, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Everything holds the power that you give to it. So any being, any human being that identifies a deity and a human-like being and finds solace in that and praise to that and believes in that, you are turning over your power to an external source. But we are not judging that. There's nothing wrong with that. There are many who are served by those tools. Where humanity has begun to splinter, however, is in the form of the organized religions more than the beings. Notice that the beings that serve as characters, if you will, in these religions, and we say characters because there are so many in your environment, but the deity or the being that has been created and is revered is very often providing something for the ones that are believing, certainly. Even if it is giving their own inner power away, their belief in it is actually tapping them into their own inner power, which is exactly what you all have the ability to do, regardless of your belief system. But the humanization of it, meaning the behaviors that are dictated and the rules and the consequences, and when commerce is tied to it, that's where the religions start to stop serving the congregation and instead seek to control it or benefit from it. And you all know exactly what that looks like.
Wow. One last question here from Raina. And Raina asks, can we contact ETs or enlightened beings through our dreams?
You can, and you do. You all interact with the energetic realm in your dream state, whether you are conscious of it or not, or have a recollection of it or not. You all have this interaction that you do and when you are sleeping in your dream state, where the veil between your 3D reality and the energetic realm is lifted. Now, your allowing of that to frighten you very often could be something that wakes you up, and you identify it as a nightmare, because what you are doing, your human mind is experiencing the energetic realm because it is part of the energetic realm that is in you already. But your human mind is, for lack of a better term, it is decoding the energetic realm in a way that you can relate to it and understand it. And when you are in a vibration of fear, you are going to have these pictures that your mind is going to show you that's going to instill more fear. But where we guide you to in all of this is to understand that the more you detune fear systematically in your lives, the less things that you are going to see in the energetic realm or experience in the energetic realm that are going to instill fear. You are going to learn to make peace with the energetic realm, because there is nothing to fear of the energetic realm. All of that, the things that you would consider something to be fearful about, notice that is always a 3D thing, something being carried out that you wish to not experience, or are horrified when you hear of someone else experiencing it. But it's always humanity behind it. And very often, the energetic realm becomes the scapegoat for it. The devil made me do it. The dark energy came in and took over. The dark energy does not assert itself without an invitation, and it is always a co-creative experience by the physical being.
That's an interesting word you just used, because it was really the next question. It has something to do with it. With channeling, I seem to notice a lot of people that maybe seem to be afraid to speak their truth, so they channel as to release any responsibility or repercussions or judgments that is with the message that they feel to their core. And so the entity or the deity, even in Christianity, it's not me that feels its way, it's God, becomes the scapegoat. Is channeling helping people tap into their true essence by disassociating themselves from the outcome, if you will?
The idea of channeling something that is a complete external deity without claiming any co-creative power in it, that is more of what you are referring to, that this is coming directly from God, for example, not from me, but from God. But that is creating a separation that does not exist. So again, you are speaking of many different belief systems. Where we guide you all to think is you are all source. David is source. You all have your connection to this and your version of this, whether you have as pronounced a version as David is experiencing in his sharing of this or not. It is all part of you, and this is part of him as well. So there is no relinquishing of accountability and the sharing of a message, because even if you are the one that is sharing it, you are choosing as a human being to share it. So you are the one that is putting it out there, whether you are wanting to cede all connection to it, to being some supreme being that just happens to be whispering in your ear. You are still the one that is choosing to share it.
That's good. It's now with that being said, maybe just a piggyback. There's a lot of people that I've noticed, maybe that myself included, that may experiment with channeling, and it's somewhere to just bypass the analytical mind, and it's very simple to just start talking, if you will, and other people, where it would seem like a show, it would seem like it was disingenuous, but the information that comes resonates with so many people. Are we just that easily available to tap into this universal source consciousness and just let it flow through us, even so, of just almost joking around, and these ancient universal truths are able to come out through characters, if you will, or through music, or through scripts and movies and things like that? It just seems to be so easy for anyone to be a conduit.
It is, and indeed it is. The difference that you might experience is the one who is sharing. Do they have the capacity to put the complex ideas together and simplify them enough to communicate them in a way that holds value for the ones that are receiving it? Mm-hmm. That is a talent or a skill. That is a sort of a 3D talent or skill. But the receiving of the information, think about it in terms of this. If you were to think about a virtual vibrational spiral, and the top of your spiral is source connection, and the bottom of your spiral is less than source connection, all the way down to complete disconnection from source. And you might consider the top to be positive and the bottom to be negative, or good and evil, or however you identify it. There is this imaginary, and this of course is a virtual spiral that we are referring to, this imaginary line of neutrality where you allow your source connection to first be realized. It would sort of be the vibration of hope, and everything from hope up is a level of source connection, all the way up to your pure elation, pure joy, pure appreciation of all that is. All new creation is available from neutral or above. Everything below neutral is always going to be recycled human information. So when you are down your spiral, so to speak, when you are frustrated by something, or angry, or hurt, or feeling victimized, or whatever the negative vibration that is expressed in your emotions that you're all very aware of, notice how you're not very resourceful there. Your ability to solve things is not as available down there. Whereas when you step away from something and return to it, your vibration may naturally be higher, and that creative energy is then available to you. And notice that when the creators and the artists of your world are at their best, they are pumping themselves up. They are taking themselves up in vibration. Those of you that create music or art or anything of that nature understand that even if your inspiration was dark, your very best work is always going to be something that's above neutral. And understand that that is what channeling essentially is. You are all channels in your own way. And you are absolutely right. When you are around a group of friends and your vibration is high because you're enjoying the interaction very much, and new ideas pour in and thoughts and things are shared, that is absolutely channeling. Absolutely.
Is this something that everyone should be more comfortable with?
It is your natural state of being. You all come pre-equipped with this source connection. You all have it flowing. You all have it available all the time. And it is natural for all of you to be separated from it via vibrational flow. But notice that the prolonged separation from your natural abundant state of being, notice that that prolonged separation is always a focused human creation. And very often, that focused human creation is an occurrence because of judgment, because you are judging something, because you've been taught to judge, that you are judging something that this should not be. And it usually starts with I. I should not be sick. I should not be alone. I should not be poor. I should not be separated from those that I love. I should not be experiencing this. That I and that idea of need creates the suffering. When you release the judgment and therefore release the actual suffering and begin to reframe all of your experiences as just that, experiences. You all came for experiences. You all came for the collection of experiences, not just the good stuff. Because the things that you consider bad experiences or negative, and you all have examples, as we shared earlier, you all have examples of something that was painful or challenging or even traumatic that you moved through and became a more sophisticated being in some way in the having of that experience. Humanity does not teach you that. Humanity teaches you that that is wrong and it is bad and is evil and it should have never happened and it wasn't your fault. What is happening there is that is robbing you of your power, because as soon as you claim ownership of everything that you've experienced, you then claim the power to transmute that to something positive. And as our promise to you, we will leave you with this, as our promise to you that every single thing that you have encountered, all of you, whoever is hearing these words, and any being, all of it can be something positive for you. Everything that is considered negative in your world can be changed to something positive because it offers expansion of your eternal journey. but it also offers expansion in your human journey that can be realized while you're still in physical. And if you have suffered or are suffering, that may sound absolutely insane, but that's just because of the habit of vibrational thought that you have created for yourselves. And that is by no accident, because that is the operating system that humanity has been running on. But now you are tiring of it. You are tiring of being dragged down into fear and judgment. And when you start releasing fear and judgment systematically from your lives begin to change without needing any external thing to change. That is authentic joy. That love of self is your authentic joy. And that authentic joy derived of love of self brings clarity. And that clarity will drive you toward the realization of how everything you've encountered actually serves your expansion. And from there, you realize your natural state of abundance. You came equipped for abundance. You came equipped for a highly expansive but well-being experience. All of you did. Not the same experience and not the same amount of linear time or any of those other human ideas, but you came to expand your consciousness, and you're doing that no matter what. But you can be more intentional with that. Wow. That is what we have to share with you. We have shared quite a bit. Those of you that are new to these teachings, we always guide you to listen to wherever you can the recording a few times, because there are layers of things that you will catch that you didn't catch the first time, because we share so much. But much love. That is what we have.
Wow. Thank you so much, Stream, and thank you, David, for being a channel and allowing hope and creative energy to flow to and through you, because we definitely need it right now. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. If again, if people want to be a part of these sessions that you do, and some of the other, you have so much that you bring to the table, and if they want to follow your work, where's the best place for them to go?
I'm always like really happy when I get through channeling, so I'm always like this. The streamofdavid.com is the best place, or the Stream of David anywhere on social media. We also have a Facebook group called the Taya Practice, TYA. Taya stands for Trust Your Abundance, and it's the practical application of the Stream's teachings. Everything that you just heard is in the Taya Practice, and it's about systematically detuning fear and judgment, learning to love yourself more, learning to view humanity very differently than we're taught to view humanity, and it really transforms your life when you get into it, if it's your thing, if you so choose.
Yeah, so cool, man. Thank you. I really enjoyed it. Are you starting to hear a lot more questions and answers that are similar right now because of what we're going through in the world?
Yeah, when COVID started, the questions definitely took off in a different direction. Mm-hmm. And again, we saw positive things coming from all of that, and then we saw humanity really kind of going down the rabbit hole of fear. Mm-hmm. And the Stream is very much about there's nothing to fear. And for almost 2 years now, the people that I have been teaching and working with and sort of in our community, our life experience has just been amazing. Not, billionaires and all that crap, but just loving ourselves in the journey and not fearing and being okay. And it's just a whole different way of looking at the world where nothing's wrong, nothing's bad, but it's not bypassing either. You can actually dig into what's going on in the world and discuss it and experience it, but it's almost like you're viewing it through the eyes of Source. And that sounds very proud. I can't find the right word right now. After I channel, I'm a little loopy, or arrogant, but it's not, because it is our natural state of being. We can operate our lives from a Source perspective, which is not fearing and not judging and having a great human experience without needing it to be anything that anyone else defines for us.
For sure. I'm with you. And that's what's gotten me through and it's keeping me through as well as hope, having hope. And so, the beings, the energy, the people that champion hope, the people who you want to be around, who make you feel better, that comfort you, that's what we need to champion in these times for sure. So thank you, David, again for being the channel and for coming on and hanging out with me and my community. And I can't wait to do the same on your platform, brother. Always great when we connect, man. Thank you so much for coming on, and I'm sure we'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for being here, and I look forward to having you on soon.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Peace and shalom. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you go check out his work, David Strickel, if that's your thing, if it resonated with you, the message and the information that came through. And, you know, you got to judge the fruit of it. You got to judge the essence, the meaning, the feeling. There was some really good vibes in that for a few moments. You know, we need hope. We need reiteration, if you will, of these ancient truths. And it doesn't matter who or what the channel or container is, as if any of this is original, as if any of this is the first time that you've heard it. These are ancient truths that were here in many, 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 many books and holy books. And just like when you get a book from TruthSeekah, my book, Spirit Realm, if you get that book, a lot of that stuff is reiterated and inspired by many other teachers and philosophers in other older books. If you get a book by David Wilcock, Dolores Cannon, repackaged, it's an ancient truth. It's a new song, but an old sound. Just like, you know, much of the popular music in the 90s was regurgitated music from the 70s and 80s. And many people have never even heard those songs before, but they danced to them. And there was something that was known too with those songs being regurgitated. Puff Daddy was big on it. Master P was really big on it. We didn't even know. He was so good at it that we didn't even know that they would take melodies and riffs and cadences and regurgitate them and change the lyrics or keep the lyrics and just put them to a different beat. But they worked. It'd be different to go back to the 70s, even today, and find a song that nobody liked. That's find a song that just didn't really sit well at all and remake that one. Where you find a song that the melody was catchy or the lyrics were catchy back then. So we know that there's something with the cadence or with the melody that catches them. And so let's lean into it. Let's become channels for that stuff. Whether it's just paying homage or a veneration versus plagiarism. But I think there's a thin, fine line in between. The ancient truth that has been working from the scriptures, there's many of what David in the stream we're talking about is from the scriptures. There's hope. There's a message of hope. There's a message of love and forgiveness and the things, focusing on the things above. The things, don't focus on the things that are temporary because they're fading away. They're passing away. Focus on the things above, for they are eternal. There's many streams that flow, whether they're from ancient scriptures or they're from spiritual hip-hop songs, wherever you get it from. I think it's beautiful. It's a journey of the seeker to find out the origins. You know, even early on, I read some of the comments and some of the Christian comments that were here, and people were kind of scared. They're iffy. Don't do it. Don't allow channeling. So in them, their origins from this type of information is lower nature. They think it would be demonic or something that's forbidden. Before the person even opens up their mouth, before the person even speaks, they've already judged the matter. And the Bible says to judge nothing before its appointed time. Let them speak. And then we judge. The Bible also says that a spiritual man judges all things. I don't care about your container. I don't care about your channel. I care about the message. What is the message? What is the vibration after? And so again, we all judge people and we judge containers. I don't care. I get judged every day. The Christians tear me apart like ravenous wolves and howling dogs. They love to, as someone would throw pearls before swine, just by judging off of look or appearance or container. They would surely kill you. But if you listen to the message, if you stay a little bit longer, if you linger, you too can hear that ancient song, that ancient sound, much older than the 70s. but it's from the beginning. Where were you before you incarnated? You remember it. This game is a game of remembering. Remember where you came from. Remember who you are. And there's different things that tell us. There's different things that remind us. I mean, Star Wars, Yoda, the master teacher, is a form of Jesus. The force that you work with that fills all things is a sense of the Holy Spirit. There's different artistic ways to share these ancient truths, to repackage and repurpose them for another generation. You know, I asked the question about how is religion, how is the church going to make it through this bump? How are they going to make it to the other side of the spiritual evolution? Will they be left behind? You know, the church has preached for many years that the world would be left behind, but is it going to be the church that is left behind? Well, I tell you one thing, if you're relevant to the culture, if you're relevant to the people, you'll always have a job. We'll always need you. If you can provide peace and hope and be a voice of truth in the midst of suffering, then you'll always have a place. So with that being said, make sure that you are a channel. You are a conduit for love, light, hope, encouragement. The Bible talks about prophecy and moving in the prophetic. And ladies and gentlemen, it's talking about channeling the Holy Spirits, channeling God, channeling the voice of Sophia, the voice of wisdom that is the ancient voice that speaks through the mouth and minds and hearts of believers. But there's etiquette. There's etiquette about that Christ is the spirit of prophecy, and it is about exhortation to build you up, to give you hope in a future. There's caveats to it. So make sure that the ancient wind that is blowing through your sails from the beginning is a message of hope. It's a message of love, inspiration, enlightenment. It's pulling people up. It's not tearing people down. It's not boastful. It doesn't keep records of wrongs, but it is patient. It is kind. It is gentle. And that's the fruit in which we judge. Guys, with that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. In a couple hours, we will be doing the School of the Mystics Thursday night session. For those of you who want to be a part of that, the link is in the description. Just join the Patreon at any level, and you'll get an email to the Zoom link in a part of that hangout where you guys can ask questions and we can tap in together. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and David and the community here. So with that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. We will do it again very soon. Peace, peace.
Your way so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine, so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah Podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.